My name is Tommy, and like so many other people, I love Disney animation. But I like to take this love one step further. I like to bring it to life. For quite some time now, I've been learning and honing my skills to bring animated props and characters into the real world the best I can. And now I'd love the opportunity to share my creative process with you so you can bring Disney to life too. In this first episode, we're heading into Arendelle. Elsa's got a cold, and she's sneezing some Snowgies into existence. Let's follow suit and make them real ourselves. Welcome to Disney, Prop to Life. Hey everybody, my name is Tommy and welcome to Disney's Prop to Life, the series where I take props and characters from Disney's animated features, films, and shorts and bring them to life in the real world. I'll show you my step-by-step process to take these animated characters and make them real. So without further ado, let's get started. Every time I watch a cartoon, my mind is always looking for unique props or characters that I want to see come to life in the real world. And after watching the short Frozen Fever, in which Elsa has a cold and sneezes these adorable little snowmen, Snowgie creatures into existence, I knew I wanted to see those guys come to life. So in this episode, we're going to prop to life the little Snowgies from Frozen Fever. Now, Snowgies are essentially just little living snowmen. But since we don't have any of that Elsa magic that prevents snow from melting, we need to think of another material that has some snow-like qualities. And for that, I think this styrofoam would work the best. It's like an open cell styrofoam, so it's kind of scratchy feeling. You can also find smooth styrofoam, but that's not quite right for this project. We're going to go with this scratchy kind. So we're going to use some of these scratchy styrofoam balls for the body and feet of our Snowgie. Now, the only other thing a Snowgie really has are the eyes, and seeing as it's a little snowman, I'm sure they're made out of coal, but since we're using styrofoam, we're going to stick with that foam theme and use some craft foam. And I'm using white because he has that little cute tooth there also, and if we just keep it white for the tooth, we can just color the eyes with a black marker, and it works just as well. And that's all we need to figure out for this guy. He's pretty simple and straightforward, but all that's left to do is put him together now. So to make a Snowgie, here's what you'll need. You'll need 2 styrofoam balls of that scratchy styrofoam, and these are about 2.8 inches in diameter. And when you look at Snowgies, they look to be about maybe 6 to 7 inches tall, so putting these together with the feet should make a good size. So 2.8 inch styrofoam balls, and then for the feet, we're going to use 2 smaller ones at 1.3 inches in diameter. We'll also need some craft foam. I'm just using white with the black marker, but you can use a sheet of white and a sheet of black if you'd like. We have an X-Acto knife, we have a pair of scissors, we have a hot glue gun, and if you look at Snowgies, their mouths kind of have this like nice light blue shading shadow in their mouth, but to get that effect in the real world, we're going to use a little bit of light blue paint, so we need this as well as a paintbrush, and that's it. So let's put this Snowgie together. So the first step to making a Snowgie is to work on the head. Now, 9 times out of 10, these Snowgies have got a huge smile on their faces, so the first step is to cut that into one of our styrofoam balls. Now this is where you use the knife, so make sure you have adult supervision or you just have an adult do this for you. But we're going to take the X-Acto knife, and we're going to stick it halfway into the ball. And because you're using a thin blade in all this white, it's kind of hard to see the line, so wiggle around in the starting spot so you can see where you're starting from. And then you're going to cut across very slowly, very carefully, until the line is about the same, it's a little less than the whole width of the head. Cutting across nice and carefully, keeping track of your line so you don't go too far over. And then when you get to the end, you want to wiggle the blade again there too, so you can see the start and the stop points easily. The next step is to do the big open mouth. So we're going to cut a big U shape from that one side to the other. You can't really see it right now, but we have our mouth shape outlined. Now we have to dig out all this section we just outlined to make it more concave, like how a mouth is. So we're going to take this sphere, and again, very carefully, we're going to cut away at this mouth part we just put in there to make the mouth look open. So now that we dug into the mouth a little bit more to make it more concave, we're going to smooth it out now. So with this foam, since it's like an open cell, it's got more room to kind of squish. So we're going to use our thumb, or you can use the back of a pencil or something like that. And we're just going to smush the inside to make it look more smooth and not so rough looking. And it should just squish right away. And it also makes a nice little crackling sound. Now, when I cut out my mouth, I made sure to leave a little bit of a lip around the inside of his mouth. And that's going to come in handy when we do the painting or a little bit later. But just keep smushing it around until he's got a nice smooth mouth. Brush out the extra, and like so. So now that we have the mouth how we like it, it's time to move on to the eyes. So taking our craft foam, we're going to cut 2 squares that are about 3/4 of an inch by 3/4 of an inch. It doesn't have to be exact, but it's just a good starting point to make the coal-shaped eyes. So cut 2 squares out of this. Like so. And while we have the foam out, we can cut the tooth also. And that's going to be very small. It's like, I would say 3/4 of an inch wide by maybe 1/3 of an inch tall. So it's not very big at all. So start with that. And now we're going to cut these into the shapes we need for the eyes. So one of them is going to be just kind of snip away at it. The pictures look like they have pentagon eyes, which is 5 sides, but just kind of round off the shapes. Doesn't have to be exact or anything. Just by adding little snips, because coal is just rocks after all. So just kind of have a little shape like that for one of the eyes. Then cut some more snips into the other one. And we've got 2 eyes for our Snowgie. So they're going to sit right about here, close down to the mouth. So the next step is to plug in our hot glue gun, and while that's heating up, we're going to add some color to all these pieces. So our glue gun is heating up now, and while that's getting to temperature, we're going to start painting the inside of the mouth. So earlier I said I had that little lip that I left there. That's going to be the dividing line from the snow head to the blue color on the inside. So it's going to get our paintbrush, our light blue paint, and just paint the inside. Now because the styrofoam is not the easiest thing to paint, but if you do like a dabbing technique as well as some wiping, it kind of fills it in nicely. So just going to get your paint, and we're going to paint the inside of the mouth blue. So there you have it. The inside of his mouth is now blue. And it just like really makes the character pop now. He's starting to come together. I did notice though when I was painting, I left these edges kind of sharp. And he's a snowman, so he's got to have soft edges. So again, using just your finger, we're just going to smoosh down this part around his mouth to make it look more curved, like a soft snowball as opposed to sharp styrofoam. There we go. That looks better. Alright, so the next step is the eyes. So again, we just got this white foam, or you could use the black foam and not worry about this step at all. But since I'm using white, we're going to take our foam and our black marker, and we're just going to color it all in. We don't need to do both sides though, just the one side and all these little edges that we have. And that's enough. So now that we have our eyes colored black and our mouth colored blue, it's time to glue the eyes onto the face, and then after that is the tooth. But first the eyes. So just using our hot glue, which is hot, so be careful. Use adult supervision if you can't use it by yourself. We're just going to add a bunch of glue. Not a bunch, but just a nice solid amount of glue on the back and the middle. Just like that much. And the eyes sit down towards the mouth closely. So just kind of smush it down and have it sit in place. Do the same thing for the other eye. Good amount of glue. And smush that onto his face. It's coming to life now. So the last thing is the tooth. All we have right now is this rectangle. But to give it a little bit more character, we're going to cut little angles onto each side to kind of round it out. Like so. Now this part's going to be tricky to glue. We have to glue this thin edge on top, and we're going to stick that into the mouth where our blue color meets the white of the styrofoam. So it's going to put a little glue on here and stick it right in there. But be very careful because the glue is hot and you're putting it on a very thin surface. And your Snowgies head is coming to life very, very nicely. Love it. The next step is to attach the head to the body. Now if you look at a Snowgie, they don't sit round to round. They kind of flatten out because they are snow, so they kind of smoosh together. So we're going to have to use our X-Acto knife very carefully to cut a smooth part under here and a smooth part one of these, and then we're going to glue those together to make the head connected to the body. We're going to lay our snowman's head flat on the ground so he's looking up into the sky, and a little bit underneath his lower lip we're going to cut flat right there. So now he's got a flat part that will sit onto this circle once we cut a flat part onto that one as well. And it's coming together very, very nicely. So now we're going to do the same thing for one of these balls. Like so. So now we're going to put some hot glue in there, and we're going to smush these guys together, and his head is going to be sitting on his body. Now to hot glue foam though, it's kind of tricky, because this is so porous that the glue kind of sinks into it, and because it's hot glue it melts it a little bit. So you don't want to put glue directly like right on the surface. You want to hold it up a little bit and kind of swirl around. And if it doesn't work right away, after it cools for a moment, you can try to add more glue. But it will stick, I promise. Just takes a couple tries. So now we have it here. We're going to take our head, and you're going to apply pressure and smush it down. And because it's hot glue, you want to hold it until it cools down and adheres together. So pushing both ends together, hold it for like a minute or two, and just hold it there until it's ready to not fall apart. So we've been holding it together for a few minutes now, and it does stick. It's still a little tender because it's not fully set, but it's good enough we can let it off to the side. So our body and our head are stuck together. Now it's time to work on the feet. So lay them off to the side. And now we've got our two smaller ones, the 1.3 inch diameter styrofoam balls. Now for these ones, we don't need to cut them. Because they're a lot smaller, you can squish these a lot easier just to get what you need, because he's going to have flat bottoms so he can stand upright, and he's going to have a small flat part here that sticks to the circle of the body. So it's going to, using your thumb, you're just going to smush down the bottom to give it a nice flat foot, and smush the top a little bit at an angle slightly so it sits onto the sphere. kind of like that. So here's what it was before, here's what it's looking like after. I'm just going to do the same thing to this one now. Give it a flat bottom so it can stand upright. Just give it a nice little smooshing, crunching. And then smoosh in at a slight angle so it can sit onto the sphere of the body. And those are going to be his feet. So we're going to do the same thing as we did for the body and head. We're going to take some hot glue and we're going to sit it onto here. I'll show you guys. Like so. And then hold it tight until it cures, and then do the same thing for the other foot. So let's get our hot glue again. Add some to that sloped part we just did. And when you do the glue onto the sloped part, make sure that the narrow part goes towards, the narrow part of the foot from here to here goes towards the middle of his body. The wide part should be on the outside of his body. I'm just going to hold it there until the glue cures and do the same thing for the other foot. So once you have the other foot glued on, you have completed your very own Snowgie. And he is so adorable. And he even stands on his own. If you have trouble standing at first, you can always smush the feet more flat on the surface until he's upright. But yeah, Snowgie from Frozen Fever. So stinking cute. And super simple to make. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time when we prop to life another character or prop from a Disney animated feature, film, or short. But until then, stay healthy, be safe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye everybody, bye!